one provision that may start to get some attention involves the new federal child savings account. This change is for a limited time period, and some may say, in relative terms, does not involve a lot of money. Nonetheless, it is a new approach. Can you educate us about the child savings account?
So Chuck, these are the Trump accounts that you've heard about. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is we know just a fraction of what anyone needs to know in order to really describe to people how this is going to work. What we do know is that it affects children born between January 1st of this year all the way through December 31st of 2028. So 4 years, any child born in that time frame. Starting next July 4th, which is the 1-year anniversary of the bill, that's the first date that accounts can actually be opened. So I don't care who you talk to at this point, no one has any idea how this is actually going to work. I like to analogize, if you don't know much about how tax laws work, think of in terms of you ever ordered furniture off the internet. You get it, you see the picture on the internet, you order it, you get the box, and on the box there's a picture, and then you open up the box, you're like, man, I got to put this thing together. It's got all these pieces and whatnot. So when Congress passes a tax bill, they just paint a picture. So they painted the picture of an account. They put $1,000 in it. The one thing they did tell us is it has to be invested in a broad U.S. stock index. We'll see how they end up defining that, but that's one piece of information we do know. But what happens with tax law is that it's the IRS who writes the instructions. So when you open up that package, you're like, I have no idea how to put this together, and you look for the instructions. So Congress paints the picture, the IRS writes the instructions. Those are regulations that they published. They published a few already. They're all on furlough right now, so nobody's writing anything. We get no instructions. They got a box and no instructions at this point. We're waiting for them to tell us. But what we do know is that the $1,000 is coming from the government. We do know what it has to be invested in. The government, at least the way it's written, they're the ones that open the account. I don't know if Sam and Jacob are get calls from Trump to open up accounts. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but that's what the law says. They painted the picture. So I would just tell you, stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have some regulations before July 4th of next year that'll give some idea how this is going to work. But the one thing that's interesting about it is that no distributions can be made from the account until they turn 18. So next July, let's say all the kids that have been born in that year and a half, they get the $1,000. Nothing can come out of that account until they turn 18. Once they turn 18, this is where it gets squishy. We think what happens at that point, based on some of the words in the statute, is it kind of looks like an IRA for that child going forward. That's our best guess. But again, we're waiting for the instructions to come from the IRS on that. So more, stay tuned on that. But if you've got grandchildren or children that have been born or coming during this time frame, just know that that's what the statute says. It's the account's going to be set up somewhere. We're not sure whether you get a choice on where it's going to be. We're not exactly sure you're going to get a choice on exactly which index fund it goes into. We'll just have to wait to see when the instructions show up. We got the package. We're just waiting for the instructions.
A little more on that, Jeff, because I know everybody's on the edge of their seat for the Trump accounts. But a family can contribute up to $5,000 per year. But if you make the $5,000 contribution, that is not subject to the annual exclusion, gift exclusion. One key piece, though, an employer can also contribute $2,500 to those accounts, and that amount would not be taxable to the employee. So that's a nuance. And the only difference, though, is the $2,500 and the government contribution are not considered basis, but the family contribution is considered basis. So that's a little bit different on those accounts as well.
So I'm going to put my compliance hat on, right? This is all information that we're interpreting. Nobody knows really how this is going to happen, as Jeff said. So stay tuned. I've heard it could be capital gains when it's taken as a distribution. I've heard it can be ordinary income. If it's treated like an IRA, is it going to be able to be withdrawn before you're 59 and a half? If so, is there an early withdrawal penalty? Are you able to have exemptions like you do in IRA for medical, first-time home buyer, higher education, having a kid, things like that? We just don't know. There's a lot of questions. So the other thing I will say from a planning perspective, let's say you can put in $1,000, your family can put in $5,000, you have your employer put in $2,500, still work with your advisor and your CPA to figure out, is that the best bucket to fill up first? If you have certain funds you want to give grandkids or children, you still have 529 accounts, you have Itemized that may be a better investment vehicle than these Trump accounts because you may be limited on the investment opportunities. So again, more to come. Work with your advisor though on which buckets to fill up.
And actually, speaking of the 529s too, that they've really opened up what 529 can be used for. They can also be used for things other than just tuition. They can be used for trade school funding. They can be used for non-college credentials, K through 12 expenses, and that actually is dependent on the state as well, though. But all of that gives the families just much more to plan on for education planning.